It is just about 2 minutes after that 5 o'clock hour. Of course, in the afternoon time, we promised you today we're going to be speaking to the General Secretary for the People's Progressive Party. I've asked my friend, Miss Remix Chick, to join me today because today we're speaking to the man himself, Dr. Bharrat Jagdeo. He's in the house with us. Remix, how are you?
I'm well, Casual. Thank you so much for my lovely professional introduction today.
And of course, today is a hands-off interview. Today we can ask the doctor anything we want to ask him. Am I correct, Dr. Bharrat?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we asked him off air if any question was off limits, and he said, no, you can ask me anything. So that's what we're planning on doing, right, Casual?
He did say ask him anything, so let's get straight into it.
So how was your weekend?
How was your weekend?
Let's start soft.
It was a hectic weekend. You know, we are planning for the election. So
Right.
as General Secretary of the party, I have to ensure that things are going well across the campaign. And we went to Linden,
Yes.
and we had a massive crowd in spite of what our opposition is saying, that we manufactured the crowd and we took them in. It's not true. We had a great energy there. People are enthusiastic about the future, and it reflects a lot on the work that we've done in that community. And if you listen to Jermaine Figueroa,
Yes.
you would hear about all the things we've done in the community and we intend to do.
So I actually have a question regarding him, because he
Yes.
did say at the said rally in Linden, he said, I feel valued, I feel respected. I'm part of something great. I'm part of a team that is putting the people and the country first. So for a lot of the young Afro-Guyanese or mixed Guyanese that are listening today, how do you get them or convince them to maybe cross party lines or vote in a direction they've never voted before?
So we've had to overcome a history of lies designed to keep people away from us. A lot of Afro-Guyanese communities were told that we are racist. We engage in extrajudicial killing. They have no future with us, and their only hope is to stick with APNU AFC. More and more people have taken the leap of faith. They have joined us. In the local government elections, we saw a large number of people voting for the PPP. We moved from 2 seats in Georgetown in 2016. Now we have 11 seats of 30 in the city. In New Amsterdam, we had 2 of 14. We're now 6 of 14. And we won Bartica, Madia, etc. We got 2,500 votes more in Linden. So as people come into the family, they see the true nature of the PPP. And that's why, in spite of the abuse that have been hurled against Afro-Guyanese designed to keep them away from us, they've been called all sorts of names. People have experienced the love in our family. They see the respect. Once you're a member of the PPP family, we don't look at race or religion or gender. You're part of our collective. We work our entire lives to have that happen. Where our party was set up to fight for independence. If we become racist, then we betray our founding fathers and also our founding ideals. So you'd hear a lot of things about us. And those people who have come to us, they have a different experience. So when you go to a rally or when you go to nomination day, and you put a microphone organically in front of an Afro-Guyanese, you hear them speak. It's not contrived. People are not paid. They're not bribed to come to us. They find comfort and they progress. And we push our people to achieve. And we help them to do that too. And that's what more and more people are understanding about the PPP today. And that's why Jermaine Figueroa could have said that on the platform. And if you ask James Bond or many others, not just the more prominent Afro-Guyanese, but ordinary people who've come to us, you would find the same experience.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, so this afternoon we promised that we have lots and lots of people that tune in the afternoon time around this period.
A lot of people are going home from work, commuting home from work, from school, all over the place. Yes, so we have a lot of people tuned in right now.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, finish your question.
So one of the things that Guyanese citizens are concerned about heading into the election period on September 1 is how do we, as Guyanese, know for a fact that the People's Progressive Party are going to honor the things that they say during the campaign?
Well, this is a very important issue. A political party's currency, it is its word, its promise. And if you don't fulfill your promises, then you can't be trustworthy. We take our promises seriously. In 2020, we campaigned on several promises. But before that, let me talk a bit about what happened in 2015. We lost the elections in 2015. APNU made several promises. They promised sugar workers 20% increase, rice farmers $10,000 a bag for paddy, young people of this country more jobs. They promised to help our children, double old age pension, promised to help the joint services. They said we were experiencing too high taxes, they would reduce taxes. What actually happened? We lost 35,000 jobs under APNU. They increased taxes, over 200 plus taxes. They're collecting $94 billion more per year in taxes. The young people were neglected. The same people who campaigned heavily for them, they couldn't find a place in government. Look at the age structure of that government. Nothing there. The joint services lost their bonus. The pensioners did not see any doubling of their pension. Instead, they took away the free water from the pensioner. The children lost their grant. So by 2020, what happened? People used to come to my office, the leader of the opposition office, and say, taxi drivers, ordinary workers, bauxite workers, rice farmers, etc. And they were saying things are slow in the economy. We can't find jobs. And why was that so? If you take out $94 billion more in taxes, that reduces people's spending power. If 35,000 lost their jobs, they don't earn, so they don't have disposable income to spend. If you cut capital expenditure, then there are less opportunities for people. So the economy started slowing down, and there was no hope about to get more jobs. That's our starting point. We promise we want to put people back to work. And most people in Guyana do not recognize that we've actually had a 3-year term. The first 2 years, we lost to COVID. So in addition to the 35,000 jobs that were lost because of bad policies, increased taxation, etc., across every sector, mining, forestry, sugar, every area. We also had another 35,000 people or so who, when the shutdown took place, couldn't go to work. We started off with a deficit of about 70,000 people not working. Today, we have more than 60,000 people more working who are not working in 2020. They're earning about $100 billion more per year, so they can spend more. We managed to do that. Secondly, we promised to reverse the taxes. We reversed all the taxes that they put in place, and we promised no new taxes in the 5 years. We kept that promise. We promised to reverse the policy of the children's grant and increase it. That is to put back the children's grant and increase it to $50,000 per child. We added children going to private schools. Over 200,000 children are now getting $11 billion a year their parents are getting because we did that. We promised to double old age pension. It was $20,500 per month. It's now $40,000. That puts in the pocket of the pensioners nearly $20 billion more per year. We promised to return the joint services bonus tax-free. They're getting $2 billion more per year because of that 1 month tax-free bonus. We promised 20,000 scholarships. We've done 39,000 gold scholarships. We promised free university education. We delivered on it. I can go down. We promised help to the farmers. They got back their help. We promised the miners to reverse the taxes they put in place. We removed the tributers tax. We reduced the royalty rate, and we removed VAT on machinery and equipment that they had put on it. The rice farmers got help. The sugar workers, we rehired 4,000 sugar workers. The Amerindian community, we rehired the CSOs We started expanding employment opportunities. We started investing back in Amerindian community. So that's why you asked me about why people should trust a political party.
Correct.
We go into these elections with great deal of credibility. We promised the people of Guyana, and it was not Indo-Guyanese we promised Guyana, all of our people, young people included, that we will get more jobs in the economy, we'd provide better health care. Health care is one. We're building 12 new hospitals now. We will provide more recreational facilities, which we're doing throughout the country. And we have delivered on every single promise we made. And that's why people can trust us that whatever we put on paper for the next 5 years, and there are many promises we're making, we started saying to people what we will do 6 months ago. We didn't start now. We didn't wait for launch of a manifesto. We have about 30 things that we have promised for the future. And we will do every single one of them. We promise to help women, to to ensure women and young people to create more jobs and to have business support, but generally small and business enterprises. We will set up a development bank that you would have zero interest loans. So if you're a young businessman now, you're thinking about setting up a business, you ensure that that will happen. We promise safer communities, cleaner communities. That means every village in the country and every ward in the towns and in the city, we're going to put in street lights, security cameras, concrete drains, pick up the garbage. These are things that we didn't get done in the 3 years, the 5-year term. We had to reorient the economy to get more, the bigger things, focus on the big picture. Now we have to come back to the smaller things that matter to people. When you go out in the communities, like in Sophia, we finish all the roads now nearly in Sophia. Next thing people wanted the concrete drains. They want us to clean the parapet, collect the garbage, put in lights. They want the cameras. And it's throughout Guyana. Wherever you live in Berbice or Essequibo, we hear this. They want more contracts, small business. Look at what we have done with small contractors. Under APNU, you had probably maybe a few hundred contractors. We have thousands of small contractors around the country, many Afro-Guyanese contractors, maybe 3,000 more who are Afro-Guyanese contractors, and that will only expand in the future. So there are so many things I can talk about. Daycare and night care facility for women who are working, that their children can get help. We promise to get more homes, more house lots, because we want every young person, every Guyanese to own a home. But in the next term, we're actually going to assist people directly to build homes or to upgrade their homes. There's so many things that we are promising, but we are not wild in our promises. We're very studied and we cost everything.
Understood.
So I want to touch on something you just touched on.
Yes.
And you brought it up a few times. It was a question. Well, I have a question about women. So today in my office earlier, I asked a few of the women that I work with if they'd rather be in a forest with a bear or a mountain. All of the women chose a bear. In Guyana in 2015, so far at least 14 femicides have been recorded, including Janelle Polydor and Kanisha Vaughn. So, of course, this is a huge concern for us.
Yes.
Do you think that there needs to be more policy in place that influences the culture of Guyanese men? I know Ropes and Ben brought something up last week, too. He believes that men are toxic and the behaviors are toxic. So what can the government do to ensure that our women are safe? That we live in a safe place where we can go out, we can have a good time, and get home safely to our families.
Yeah, I think we have to create a culture of intolerance against violence, especially when it relates to women and children. And to do that, you need everyone on board. This is not a task for government. The NGO community and religious organizations. And we made it clear we want to work with the religious community across Guyana and NGOs to create that culture of intolerance. So we have, for example, there are two NGOs that deal with children and when they're abused. They have seen their subvention in the last 5 years quadrupled. We give them more subvention per year so that they can tackle the abuse against children. They do forensic audit, etc. We've strengthened the Child Protection Agency. We intend to strengthen the laws. The laws are pretty strong already. We need to enforce the laws. We need people to be out there to support people who are abused, and then also to create this culture of intolerance. It's a joint thing, yes.
I want to follow up with that. But because, you know, a lot of people feel out there that, yes, there are laws in place, arrests are being made, but then we feel as though, and this is speaking on behalf of women, that justice is not being served. And that's part of the problem too, because you feel, okay, great, you get the person's arrested, but then what follows up with that, and what happens to the person after that?
So I've seen many cases where the police don't pay enough attention to the matter. They don't take it seriously. And we need to have greater police accountability. We need to ensure, look at that Adriana Young matter, when they lied and created a whole ton of problems for people because of their lies. We need to make sure that on the roads they don't harass people. We were talking about that internally. So greater police accountability, that's one. Two, we need to get people not to withdraw cases too. Sometimes we spend a lot of time preparing a case. It goes to the DPP, and then the person is charged, and then the woman who is abused comes to the police station and they say, we don't want to pursue it. Please withdraw it. You wouldn't believe how many of those cases we have. After you take all the time to prepare the case, then they want it withdrawn.
But wouldn't that be a cultural thing too? That it's
that's why I'm saying. Right. So that's why I'm saying it is. You need to work on the culture, and then many times it goes to the judiciary, over which we don't have any control. And then you have some weird decisions made in the judiciary itself. So that we don't agree to, but we can't do anything because that's an independent branch of the government. So that is why I'm saying this culture, we need to work more on a culture of intolerance.
Absolutely.
And women need to have a support system that they know that, because many of them depend on the guy for an income. Financial support. So they then have to go back to him. That is why we need to create more avenues for employment, etc. So it's a complex problem. I don't want to make light of it, and it takes place across the society at every income level. This is not a phenomenon for poor people alone. It's wealthy people engaged in this.
You're hearing about it all the time.
Yes,
too.
yes.
And these are cases that are reported, so much less the ones that are not reported.
I have a question, and I'm sorry for diverting from
the
please, fact that we're talking about a very serious situation that's affecting us in society. However, with the onset of social media, Guyana has now been opened up to the rest of the world. A lot of our flaws are now being highlighted, and a lot of people are commenting about Guyana and Guyanese society and the way that we handle things on social media. How has that affected you and your party? And what have you guys been putting in place to remedy that so that we could continue putting Guyana out in the best light possible?
Sure. So this is something that we have to be very careful about. When you go to, I've traveled extensively. I go to Africa, I see great things happening in the society. I look at the news media, mainstream news media, and all you see is famine in Africa, corruption in Africa, etc. Coup d'etats, etc. Nothing positive about that continent. The same thing with Asia. And we have to be careful that we do not allow others to define us as a country. We, even with our difficulties, we should have a positive approach to our country. The Jamaicans do it. They have a greater, the crime rate is high in Jamaica, but they're positive about the country. Look what we have going for us. We're the fastest growing economy in the world. We have a multi-ethnic country that has remained unified in spite of external provocation from colonial times. We remain unified. We're stronger because of it. Multi-ethnic, multi-religious community. Absolutely. Our people are doing a great job. They're investing, they're expanding. Look, we have 12 new international hotels under construction now that will provide 6,000 jobs to people only in the city when completed. We have the new highways going in. We have a scarcity of labor when some countries have high rates of unemployment.
We need people.
We need people here to work. You find it everywhere. And sometimes you would think we're the basket case of the world because some people are deliberate. They're so extreme. Their entire focus on social media is to divide us along racial lines. Look at the comment that Norman Brown made about President Ali. He said that President Ali washes his hand with a special detergent after shaking the hands of Afro-Ghanis. And imagine people would subscribe to that and imbibe with it. Look at the assault against Afro-Ghanis who have chosen to support the PPP. They're called all sorts of things, lick bottoms, slave catchers, sellout, etc. These are smart people who have assessed, what the opposition has to offer, and they've assessed what we have to offer for the country and for their families. And they have decided that they didn't keep their word and they have no plan for the future. And this is a party that plans for the future and that is inclusive, is trying to unite the country. And they've consciously supported us. They must give up on free will and you give up on their intellect or their future or their children's future just to remain in a clan. That is it. And then they're called all sorts of names every day by people who live abroad. You're right there. And many of these naysayers they live in US. Half of them don't do well. They're doing badly in the US. They're running from job to job and they run down our people. It's an industry. They're haters. I see a whole group of fossils in this country. Every day they're in the newspapers. They can't be happy for the young people of the future. They always have to run them down.
I want you to stay right there.
Yes.
Stay right there.
Because I have a question.
This election that we're about to head into September 1st, it now gives a brand new group of voters an opportunity to be a part of the change that Guyana is asking for or requires.
And breaking down barriers, breaking down the walls of racism in our country.
How are you going to guarantee a piece of the pie for those young people that are now getting involved?
Can I add to that too?
Yeah, sure.
My question is similar to casual. So there's free tertiary education. There's the gold scholarships, which you mentioned as well too. There's been cash grants, but there are going to be young people listening today that think that it's not enough because you keep hearing about all this oil wealth, this oil money, all that's happening within Guyana. So they want to know, inclusive of what Casual said, is it enough? Have we been giving enough? And are we should we expect more?
Yeah, sure. So first thing...
Sorry, Casual, I didn't mean to...
No, that's fine. First thing, we are not saying people are victims. We're saying we will support you to fulfill your dream in this country as a young person. APNU still preaches victimhood. They've gone back to extrajudicial killing on their platform. Listen to them about discrimination. Nothing positive. I went to Linden, and then Wynn, on the other hand, what plan do they have for young people? Apart from giving people maybe 50,000, they have to fight to get their money to go to a meeting. What happens when the 50,000 comes to an end or is spent? What else do you say to a young Guyanese who wants to start a family or a life here? I spoke to over 1,000 young people in Linden about 2 months back. And I said, if we are going to push you, we're going to push you to study, to get a skill. Whatever it costs, we are going to pay for that. Our budget for education moved from 53 billion in 2020. It's 185 billion now per year. Mm-hmm. When you add what we're spending on education, on healthcare, and roads and bridges, it's more than all the oil money in the budget that we've received. Only on these three areas, leaving out every other area of the economy. So that's how much oil money we have, for those who think that we are overflowing or with oil money. Now, so that's one. So we said, if you have not studied as yet, we are going to push you to study. We're going to make university education accessible to you in your homes. Whether you live in the interior, because we're putting in Wi-Fi now, you live in Essequibo, Berbice, Linden, or Georgetown, you can do a university degree. 39,000 Guyanese are already doing that. Norton said in the platform, he studied in London. This is a waste of time degree. You know the nonsense, disparaging 39,000 people who are on the gold scholarship. More than half are Afro-Guyanese. They told them, do not apply. You're never going to get it. Because they're, again, in line with the preaching the victimhood syndrome. So that's the first thing. We have another 42,000 who are trained through the WIN program, BIT, and the GROW program. These are people, young men, who we get picking up from many parts of their communities who might be sitting on a roadside and thinking they don't have a future. We want to talk to them. They're learning to drive a truck, an excavator, a bulldozer, and they're making $12,000 a day, many of them. We've paid for the full training. We want to continue doing that, giving every young Guyanese a skill and an education. If it costs us $400 billion a year to do that, we'll invest, because that's investment in our people. So the young people know they don't have to worry about education. Not just the university, but we're paying for your exams. We're going to help families now. A young guy who wants to start a family, he doesn't have to worry about educating his child, a young guy or a young woman. Because we're going to give a transport grant in the next term. For every school child, we're going to increase the Because We Care grant. We're going to do school feeding programs, so that a child could have a nutritious meal in school. So you don't have to worry about education. That's the first thing. I said to the group in Linden, once you're educated, we then have to get you to own your own home. I want every one of you to apply for a house lot. On the afternoon, listen to Figuera. No housing development. We have 3,000 in Linden itself, over 3,000 plots of land. Every young person would get a plot of land. That's what we want you to own things. You get a plot of land and we will help to build homes, either through lower mortgages, co-investing, or direct subsidies or grants to people. So if you're a young person starting a family, we want you to own your own home. Third thing is jobs. We are creating an environment where there are more jobs and better paying jobs. So that is why we focus heavily on expanding the economy. No other political party is talking about that. All they're talking about is giving out money that we don't have. They don't talk about creation of wealth. We talk about creating wealth at every level. You asked me about young people too. Many of those contractors now and small businessmen are young people. They will then get support through zero interest loans. so they can start more business. We want more young people to start their own business. The local content law that we passed, if you look at the 1,000 companies that have been Guyanese-owned companies that are registered, 60% are owned by young people, young Guyanese. And so this is what you can look forward to, that sort of future. Recreation, safer communities, starting a life. The taxation system would evolve. We are already promising no new taxes in the next 5 years. If you want to own a vehicle, you'll see a reduction in taxes on vehicles in the next 5 years. The income taxes already removed the threshold from $65,000 to $130,000. So under APNU, if you're earning $66,000 you're paying per month, you're paying taxes. Now you have to be $131,000. It will go even higher. We've added $50,000 more of overtime per month that is tax-free. $50,000 if you want to take a second job so you can have more income. We want people to keep more money that they earn. We want to support families, like what we're doing. The taxation system would help people with children now. We want people to own homes. We want them to start businesses. We want them to have a world-class education, and they don't have to worry about health care if they fall sick. That is the vision for young people and for Guyana that we're selling. We're the only party that's doing this.
Mm-hmm.
In regards to housing,
yes,
a lot of young people are saying that they aren't being, it's taking a long time for them to be issued a piece of property so they can start building and starting their lives.
But you're absolutely right about that, and it is true. But when you have such a high level of demand in a country like ours, and the last government did not do anything whatsoever in generating new plots of land. So we are now dealing in Region 4 with the APNU backlog. So guess what? We are now allocating up to 2019. If you made an application up to 2019, now you're getting your plots of land in Region 4. You would have received a letter. If you fly over the East Coast where we are doing 20,000 house lots, you would see the scale of the work, what it takes. We have to push down, like on the East Bank, a jungle. We found jaguars there.
Oh,
you wouldn't believe it. Yeah, no, but they run back by the conservancy. They go back by the conservancy.
Right.
People don't understand what is taking place. What kind of land we are taking to convert into housing. They think it's just, the land is there, etc. At the back of Diamond, you have a large area there with some trees that are 150 feet tall, pure jungle at the back there. We pushed it down, the animals, we found animals like jaguars, etc. We have to excavate the roads down 14 feet and then fill it up back with sand to create the roadways. We have to put in culverts. We then have to start putting in lights and water. It takes time, but you know what? When the people get the plot of, when we complete that, they would live 10 minutes away from a new hospital, new shopping malls, a new highway, although it's just at the back there, a new bridge, and all of that. And it started like that when I was president. The first Diamond was Canefield. And the first house that was built in Diamond was built at the back. I built it with the Army. We went there and worked on the first low-income house. You didn't have a single house in Diamond. Now there are 5,000 houses. You have schools and everything else, secondary school. That's how the vision starts. We're doing that on the East Coast is the same thing. So the wait is a little bit longer in this region, but they're going to get it. We're the only party that says you're going to get a plot of land. It's going to be easier for us to do it in the other regions because we don't have the heavy demand in other regions. So I guess all the people who have applied before, by next year, they will get their plots of land in the other regions of the country. But in Region 4, where everyone wants to come, we have a huge backlog. So, but people will get it. The residents they know that they will get it because we keep our word.
All right.
It takes time.
Let's talk about blackouts.
Yes. Oh.
Nobody likes blackouts, Vice President, and I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to say you're immune to blackouts because you live in Georgetown. How do you feel about
I'm
this?
very upset.
Where do we
about
go
it.
from here when it comes to this? Because
I agree. I agree. Absolutely.
And here's
We've
probably
had
where you
so
can talk
many
about gas to
solutions.
energy as well too.
Yes, the gas to energy
Yes.
project.
We started with the parts for GPL, then we got the ships, and then we've now moved on to a management deal that we're working on with some other people. Tell us a little bit about that. Make it a
So
little bit
let
more
me
transparent.
tell you about this. So we were supposed, when I was president, to build a hydropower. By 2017, the hydropower would have supplied 165 megawatts of power. APNU AFC killed that project. They falsely claimed that the price for electricity would be 30 cents per kilowatt hour. In fact, it was 10 cents per kilowatt hour. It's now we're selling at 22 cents. Lied about the project. Even recently as last year, Patterson repeated the lies, and we had to point this out. They killed that project. They came into office, then no new investments. We had an aging system that would have replaced the aging sets and a new base load, 165. So if you kill the hydro, then you have to either put in new generation. Tell me what new generation they put in place. In Essequibo Coast, a smaller unit there, and then after the elections, they lost the elections, they paid down on a new plant that we now had to install.
Mm-hmm.
So if we now came into office with the old system now, the old generators, no new generating capacity, and then guess what happened? The economy took off.
Mm-hmm.
Hotels being built, roads being built, new houses being built, everyone wants AC, so the demand took off, and we have to supply it with these old pieces of equipment. It's logic. So then we got a crisis. No investment on the transmission side. I'm not even talking about that. So we started by bringing in new power plants. We then had to get the power barges, but the system is old. And so we then decided we're going to fix this problem definitively.
Mm-hmm.
The gas to energy project.
Mm-hmm. So just brief on that, there might be people listening or just not
Yes.
be too aware of what it is and how
So
it
the
works.
gas to energy project is to build a pipeline
Mm-hmm.
to bring the gas from offshore
Mm-hmm.
to a power plant in Wales
Mm-hmm.
that will generate 300 megawatts,
Mm-hmm.
more than what we're using now, 100 megawatts more than what we're using now. That plant is under construction, will be completed next year.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When that happens, we will then cut electricity price by 50%.
So what part of next year is this supposed to come online?
It's slated for about mid next year.
Okay, fair enough.
So 50% cut in electricity prices.
And the lights are going to stay on.
Yes. Well, then we'd have a base load station. So for the lights to stay on permanently, you need to upgrade the transmission system too. So that's why we've awarded a $420 million project to transmit the power on these steel towers. If you go up these banks, you see these big steel towers.
Mm-hmm.
You know where we used to transmit it on? The railway embankment now, those wooden poles.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we take power from Georgetown to Berbice.
Mm.
So every time you have a vehicle touch a pole like that,
Blackout.
you black out right through.
Right.
So that is the system. So once it goes on those steel towers at the back there, then you can have a stable grid and you have redundancy on the grid. So that's the second phase of the investment. That's why we're hiring this supervision firm to supervise that contract to ensure quality.
So I think
when
the
same project comes on stream, we will be producing all the cooking gas. We'd start exporting cooking gas. Now we import our cooking gas. So we will then be able to cut the cooking gas price maybe about 50% too.
Nice.
So that would be good for everyone because cost of living, we got to tackle cost of living and poverty issues in the next term too. Right, yes. So we'd be able to cut that down. So you could save, Guyanese will save from cheaper electricity $350 million US per year.
Wow.
And then from cheaper gas, cooking gas, about 200 million. Imagine 550 million US dollars of savings per year for the consumers. How that will impact on cost of living. When cost of living skyrocketed after COVID, because of the factories shut down around the world, and then higher oil prices because of the war in Ukraine. What did we do? We said we couldn't allow electricity prices to go up from 2020 to now. So we are subsidizing electricity $80 million a year to keep the price from moving from 2020 to now. So when people talk about cost of living, electricity prices did not go up because we're subsidizing it. 2, water prices did not go up because we're subsidizing that too. Then transport, we said there was a 50% tax there. We took off the tax. So it cost us $85 billion per year. So when you look at every gallon of gas or diesel you buy, now when you go to fill up your car, if we did not do that, you would have had to pay $560 more per gallon.
Wow.
People don't even know that,
Right.
to keep transportation. That's how we're subsidizing to keep the cost of living down. The fourth area is mortgages payment. In New York, Trump won because mortgages went up higher when the interest rate moved. In Guyana's case, we lowered the mortgage rate because of tax concessions. And then internet also, because of the liberalization, the price of bandwidth came down. And so those are the 5 components where we did not see increase in cost of living. Electricity, water, transport, mortgage rate, and internet.
What
And
about
internet.
Food?
Food prices, on the other hand,
Tell me about that.
food prices went up because especially goods that we could not produce here.
Yeah.
So we started now, we're growing corn and soya. In another 3 years, there was no production of corn and soya in Guyana. In another 3 years, we produce all the corn and soya we need for a livestock industry. That's expanding now in the savannas, if you look at the images. We will then take those soya and make the soya oil. We import about 400 containers per year of oil. 400, we can replace that, produce our own oil. We are now expanding the production of black eye and red beans so that we can replace all the imports of that in the same savannas. In another year or 2, we'll be able to do all of that. We're now on the dairy side, we're expanding dairy production by working. There's a nearly $25 million US investment by DDL, I think, to do a world-class dairy industry, can supply our own milk. Then on the livestock side, we have an aggressive program to increase production of meat so we can get the cost down. Because as people get wealthier, they want to eat better.
Yes.
They want to eat better.
More options.
And people are getting wealthier. You know why? Because look at the public servants. The public servants are earning per year $120 billion more per year than 2020. The wages and salaries in the public sector, that's 500 million US per year more. They're going to spend more. They're bringing in cars. 40,000 cars come in per year now.
Wow.
For not just car, but vehicles, basically,
Yeah.
vehicles. 40,000. If another 60,000 are working who are not working, now they're earning another 100 billion. They're spending it. More business, Guyanese business. So there's big disposable income now. People want nicer things, so they push up the cost if you don't have the supply. And so this is happening. But let me give you a couple of examples. I look at say cassava price. I saw they said, cassava price skyrocketed. Cassava prices are actually cheaper than 2020 when I look at the series. But the farmers in Parika get $40 per pound. By the time it reaches Vreeden Hoop, it's 120. By the time it reaches Monrepo market, it gets to nearly $200 and something per pound. That is not the farmers often get the money. It's you have about 3 or 4 middlemen. And so we have to do find a better way to allow the middlemen to operate, but not with these high margins. And that's why we said we may have to have more farmer markets around the country where the farmers can come and sell directly.
Absolutely.
And people can go, but people complain a lot. They would go to Starbucks and buy a $2,000 coffee. But they don't want to pay the farmers who work hard. Sometimes there's drought, they don't have water and stuff. To buy the borer, they complain about the borer price. You know what happens. People work hard in the fields too.
I'm happy that we're talking about farming right now because as of recent as 3 days ago, in the newspaper, I saw that the government of Guyana is now invested in cocoa farming and soy farming.
Do you know in 1753, I'm doing some heavy research on this. In 1753, we were producing over 600,000 pounds of cocoa.
Wow.
And what happened?
And then it died. I have the maps. I can show you the maps. We had like 200 years ago, we had about 120 cocoa plantations along the Berbice River. So what we're doing now, we're doing some work. We're bringing in the new cocoa varieties. We sent in 10,000 coffee plants to Region 1. And because coffee too, we were producing about 60,000 pounds of coffee in 1753. And we're planning to restart these two industries. And we have some guys now scanning the forest to see these old cocoa trees, which would have great immunity to disease because we are producing it hundreds of years ago.
Right.
And then restart that. We want to aquaculture. Ecuador exports $5 billion of shrimp to the US. We can take $1 billion of that industry. So agriculture is going to be a major investment in the future. Look at the tissue culture labs we're bringing in that can do 8 million plants per year, high quality plant. The embryo technology, smart agriculture, using drones to spray pesticides and fertilizer in our field. A lot of that is happening. You don't see it behind the scenes. We're taking the whole area in Skeldon, like some of the Gaisuko lands and other areas along the bank of the river, like in Crabwood Creek, and convert it into an agro zone. We're building a road from Molson Creek to Oriala to open up more lands. In the adaptation project that we're using money that we earn through the LCDS to safeguard our communities by taking more water from the backlands straight into the Atlantic, like the Hope Canal, to prevent flooding. We're going to open up 100,000 acres of land, arable land, in the next term for small farmers and others. So agriculture is going to be a major investment. Major.
We've been praised for this on the world stage. By
everyone. And it's going to create a lot of opportunities for young people who want to invest. And it's not the old type of agriculture, the backbreaking type of agriculture. It's new. It's technology oriented. It's smart agriculture. Look at onions. We can now grow all the onions that we need. There is a variety called Aquarius F1 hybrid that is a prolific bearer now. We're going to expand its production in Essequibo Coast, etc. We can replace our onions if we can do all of that. And we're connecting the road network. So Region 9 will be connected to Region 8. You know, when they grew stuff there, they couldn't bring it down. The mountains are a bit colder. We can handle some varieties of crops there. And high mountains, they get transport, easy transport coming out. It's a whole plan we have. If I were to, I can talk about agriculture all night long. And people need to focus on this. We're clear about what we want for our country. Because when the oil money goes, what next? I see the APNU promising, like APNU said, they'll give the public servants 35% per year. That's $1 trillion, only public servant. That's twice as much oil money we have now, only for the public servants. When someone says that, you need to send them to the madhouse because you can't be serious about it. And that's what they're coming up with. How would anybody believe anything that APNU says? Again, I don't know. I don't know.
So I have a question. This was an article that was published in the Trinidad and Guardian not too long ago. I think it was about a week ago, maybe 8 days ago. It says that the name of the article is Trini Entrepreneurs Ride Guyana's Wave. And this is a direct quote. It says, there's an engineering firm that's working out of Guyana right now. And it was founded in Guyana last October. And it says it's a move that's proven timely as major construction projects are popping up in nearly every town. From hotels to new roads, they found a strong foothold in Guyana's building boom. So I want to know, of course, how can we ensure that Guyanese companies are the ones that are directly benefiting? And I have no problem with other companies coming into the country. I don't want to sound like a...
But no, because I've been accused of xenophobia too.
That's what I was
the Trinidadians been saying I'm critical of them and
Guyana
the other
first.
farm, right? And when I said it, Guyana first.
Should we not be xenophobic? I mean, we should say we're from here. Being from here should mean something.
No, yes, but we don't need, we can be deliberate without being xenophobic.
Well said.
Correct.
And so we are deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw this happening. On the APNU, I used to be at the office just around the corner here, leader of the opposition office. A lot of people came in. They were lobbying for APNU to pass the local content law to get more Guyanese to benefit from the oil and gas opportunities. APNU refused to do that. I went to the Marriott. I saw the Hertz had a sign up there.
Car rental,
Right, a car rental. So I said, can't we find enough Guyanese who can rent cars to Exxon? So we pushed for this. We made it a promise in our manifesto. We passed the local content law. Exxon was opposed to it. They said it will shut down their business. Halliburton, all of the others. We passed it. What was the result? Over 1,000 Guyanese companies now earning over $700 million. You know what we did? We took 40 areas. We said, you can't rent from a non-Guyanese. No, none of Exxon and the other first-tier companies can't rent from a non-Guyanese any office space or a dwelling. You know what that did? It was a boom for those Guyanese construction because a lot of people, Guyanese who live in New York or right here, started fixing up their homes. They started renting. They're making a ton of money because of that. Two, we said, only transport from Guyanese. You can only hire transportation services. We have thousands of vehicles now owned by Guyanese who are earning good rentals because they're supplied to Exxon and all the drivers. Basically, maybe 700 drivers who are earning fairly well. We said cleaning services, only Guyanese. They had a French company doing cleaning services. Food, security, all of these things. So now our companies are supplying more and more these services. We intend to expand that when we expand the local content law. But there's still space outside of these areas for other companies to come in where we are less proficient with the skills. We can do some types of jobs like fabrication, complex fabrication. So Trinidadian companies and others can still get in there, but at least we have a carve out for our people. That was important for me in the oil and gas sector.
And it also allows for capacity building as well,
capacity building, right. And they have to look at it. Many of them are trying to dupe the system. But we are working on that too because they come in through the back door. You know, they rent a Guyanese to get their certification. The next thing is, so that was a very critical area for me on that, the local content law for Guyanese to benefit from these services.
I want to talk about elections. Elections is on the way.
And by the way, let me add one thing too.
Go ahead.
There's been a lot of concerns about our country being overrun by foreigners too. So let me tell you about our migration policy. We have not had a formal migration policy as yet. We have drafted one, and we will have to in the future have one because there would be a time when we'd be like Qatar or Dubai or one of those places where you need workers to come. We can't do all because we don't have enough people and we're growing at a rapid pace. But we said we will not do that because we do have pockets of unemployment. In Region 4, we may have an abundance of jobs, and Region 3. But what about Essequibo? What about Berbice? What about Linden? What about Regions 1, 7, 8, and 9? These communities still have a lot of our people who need good paying jobs and good quality work. We should take care of our own first. That's why we started a part-time job, and we now need to steer more investments to those communities so that they too have jobs, full employment. We want more women into the workforce, bringing our own people first into the workforce before we start bringing in the foreigners.
It would be blasphemous of me not to ask you entertainment-related question.
All right. So, but let me just deal with this. So then, the Venezuelans who are here,
okay,
the Chinese who are here, the Indians. So we have to, the ones who are coming to work here now, we have to ensure we know who they are and how many people are in our country.
Do we know that?
So this is why we are now embarked on a project that by the mid next year or so should be completed. It is a high-level biometric project that will give every Guyanese citizen an ID card of a particular nature. And every other foreigner would get another card of a different color. So that means we will know how many Venezuelans are here, how many Chinese, etc. They can't be in Guyana without that card because they wouldn't be allowed to open a bank account or to do any other work here in Guyana. They'd have to show that card. That means we know now who is in our country. The Guyanese card would give us some special rights. Like we coming through the airport, we don't even have to clear immigration. We just swipe our card because we're Guyanese citizens. The others have to go through a different sort of clearance. So that's what we're working on because it's important that we know what we protect our country. So that because we don't want to be overrun by foreigners too. Because later we're a small number. They may take over, pose a threat to us as Guyanese. So we have to be careful and protect our people and extend the help. So Guyanese, for example, you may get access to a house lot, you may get access to a zero interest loan or get direct help to build your house. A foreigner can't get that on their card. So a lot of that sort of thing. It's important that we know that too. So we're very deliberate about these things. That's why I say opportunities for our people, protecting our country, making sure that our people are treated well, but without being xenophobic.
Absolutely.
Because, we at one stage, we were looking for jobs in other countries too in the world.
On the entertainment scheme of things, there are a lot of young people.
Like you said.
A lot of young people that are interested in music and television and acting and all that stuff. How have you and the PPP, through the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport, decided to aid them in that?
So first of all, if you look at one of the things that we've already put out, it is supporting the creative industry, which we have already been doing, and also protecting content. These are two major promises we've made, and it's already in the public domain. Because we didn't have to wait as manifesto launch. You saw WIN launch their manifesto and it was a disaster. They didn't even know basic things that were written in their own document. And APNU makes these wild promises. Well, we are very, very clear about that because we believe the creative industry can be another growth pole. Like how agriculture can be a growth pole, the mining can be a growth pole, non-oil mining can be a growth pole, tourism can be a growth pole, the fisheries sector can be a growth pole for the Guyana for generating wealth for our people. So too the creative industry can also do that. So we've been at this for a while. Like when Patterson claimed that they conceptualized the bypass, I had to go and show a document in 2003 where we had already mapped that bypass, done the studies, and including the 4-lane road all the way to the airport, a high-span bridge across the Demerara River, across the Berbice River. So I haven't even been able to talk about our vision for that. But just imagine what we got done in 3 years after COVID. Just imagine what, with full 5 years, how this country will change. All of the hotels next year, 6 of those hotels would start working, 1,500 new rooms. The stadium we're building in Berbice and one in Region 3, we'd be able to host a ton of international games. We can host a whole tournament. You don't have to go to the whole Caribbean, a cricketing tournament where 3-4 matches are being held simultaneously. The track in New Amsterdam, the track in Linden, the velodrome that we're going to build for our cyclists. These kinds of things, every village and every ward in the city will have the ground that with lights on it. There are 34 grounds in the city. We're already putting in the lights and upgrading all of them. We do this right across Guyana, in all the Amerindian communities as well as the rural and urban communities.
But I think
that's what our plan for the future.
I think a lot of young athletes that I've spoken to, that you read on social media, a lot of them feel as though, and I'm generalizing this, of course, a lot of them feel as though that their sport is treated more like a hobby rather than a profession. And they want to get to the level where they can play professionally and they're earning professionally. They're able to support their families. So,
but you know the limitations to that. I've struggled with boxing a lot because I like boxing, and since we started, and we don't have enough fights here. So if you want to really, even if you want to go, you're amateur, you can't fight 3 times a year. You need to fight 8-9 times a year or so as an amateur fighter. And then in professional, if you go professional, you have to go abroad. So that's why we need to do a bit more. But given our size, you know, we may not be able to generate enough fights and international meet. So we have to be able to find a system where we can support through stipend or attachment some of our pro athletes so they can then earn, even the amateurs, and they can earn a bit more whilst they're training.
Right.
But there are limitations because of our size to how many events
St. Lucia won a gold medal at the last Olympics.
Right. So we can, and a lot of that because those people from St. Lucia and the other places, they don't train in a stadium in St. Lucia. They're going to university in the US. They have competition in the US. They're only St. Lucia nationals, right?
Very true.
So we have to support our sport. We have to support professional sport, but you know your limitations too. So hopefully when we have more facilities across the country, then we can raise our the standards of the sport.
With the onset of new parties joining the elections race for September 1 this year, why should the general public continue to throw their support behind the people?
So look at the choices before you. So let's examine the parties. APNU and AFC, because they work together in between 2015 to 2020. Look at their track record. If you examine their track record, you can't believe a single thing they say, because they promised us much more, and Granger was even more credible than Norton. How could anyone in their right sense believe anything that comes out of that camp? And I know what comes out of the camp. So Paul is their vice presidential candidate. Paul was a junior staff in local government. Their prime ministerial candidate was Moses Nagamutu's secretary. Norton was advisor on empowerment, but I don't think he even had a job in an office in the office of the president. None of them have policy-making experience, much less the ability to implement policy. Look at that. That's the thing. They have no track record and they have no planning capability. 1 week they would say, one thing and then they're contradicted by another person in the party. There's one thing that goes through, and we have quality control. I'm general secretary of the party. Whatever we put out a promise, it has to come through me, because I know we have to deliver on it. Mm-hmm. We study everything, we cost it before we put it out. So it's serious. So that's the choice. Look at young people, they're back at it again, promising young people. Oh, we love you again, but it's election time. Mm-hmm. Look at the disregard for young people. How could the young black men in this country, when they go listen to APNU, all they get is abuse. They say, first of all, the PPP discriminates against Afro-Guyanese. And then, when you give young people opportunity, they call them soup drinkers. And we have had more Afro-Guyanese businesses started in the 5 years under the PPP than they've ever had in their entire history, the PNC, the 28 years plus the 5. And so that is it. Look at, we talk about the children of Guyana, it's all the children. We don't differentiate by public or private schools. We don't differentiate by race or religion. We are supporting all of our children, all the pensioners, opportunities for all of our people. Look at Linden. We spent $18 billion in 2 years on building roads. And guess who got the contracts? Only people from Linden, and all of them are young. Look at the images. You ever see anything like that happening on the APNU or AFC? I was saying, look at how many ministers under the last government were taking the contracts for themselves. Like we know about Cathy Hughes giving her own contract to herself. We know about the housing minister to her husband. Ordinary people couldn't get any help. So that's on one hand. How can you go to APNU or even return to that? The other hand, win. Because I don't bother too much with AFC. I think they're spent. AFC is spent, they're lost their way. But look at WIN. Azruddin Mohammed, who is Azruddin Mohammed? Mm-hmm. He has emerged now. He claims he's a victim of PPP. Mm-hmm. That's what he's been selling. That we are worried about him contesting the elections. What's the fact? The first thing is that Reuters, the largest news agency in the world, mm-hmm. published a report in 2023 that Azruddin Mohammed is being investigated by the United States government for money laundering or Russian money laundering for Russian mafia, 2, smuggling cocaine from Colombia, and 3, gold smuggling. Mm-hmm. That's a Reuters article. You can go to read it. They were critical of the PPP too, saying that we might be condoning him. That's what they were saying in 2023. Mm-hmm. Then they said he will be sanctioned. A year later, the US government sanctioned him. The sanction states that US companies cannot deal with this guy, do business with him. That's why Exxon had to shed him. Mm-hmm. And that if locals were to associate with him or do business, they could face law enforcement action. We were forced to cut him out from the banking system. Every bank immediately said, if we continue doing business with this guy, we lose our correspondent bank relations with the US, you would have to shut down the bank. Mm-hmm. And they cut ties with him, etc. So he's very unhappy. He thought we should, in the PPP, we should protect him and put at risk every Guyanese. We're not going to do that. We're an old party. We work for the people of this country, not for Azruddin Mohammed. Mm-hmm. So that is what he's been doing. That's why he launched his campaign. And do you know that APNU and AFC don't criticize him? Although he is going into their communities and going after their supporters. Mm-hmm. Why is this so? Because we saw him going into Nigel Hughes's office When Nigel Hughes was asked about it, there was a picture of it. He said, oh, it was on a legal matter, and I invited Trotman as my political consultant. No, now really, the country got to be extremely gullible to buy that explanation. But why do you think the APNU and many of their supporters don't criticize him? Because they think he's going to make a dent in PPP support base, which is not happening. It's not going to happen. We're going to win the elections outright. So there seems to be like a cozy thing. Maybe they promise him they would help him with the US, but that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So right now, look at those poor people unsuspecting people who became his candidates. Every one of them would lose their bank account. Their families will lose their accounts. Imagine now they have to go through life not having a bank account. And the banks had no choice. It's not PPP telling them, because if next week the US government finds out that this is so, that they're doing business with an associate of Mohammed, because once you join his party, you're now an associate of an organization that he's heading. That's the difference there. You would lose, the banks would lose their correspondent bank. You saw Timothy Jonas mention in this, that the banks would be shut down.
I did see that.
And so this is what he's putting people at risk. The people are losing their visas in drove because he wants to save his ass. That's all he's doing. This guy is incapable. You saw him outside the Omanayana. He's incapable of stringing two coherent thoughts together. He hides from the media. He can't host his own press conference. At least Norton can sit down and talk about his policies, etc. This one can't even, they give him stuff to read and he's incapable of reading it. And I'm not running down him as a person, because a lot of people may not finish CXC, but at least you're running for the highest office in the land. You're running for the highest office in the land. How can we entrust the future of our children, or your own future, in the hands of people like this? On the other hand, like Norton, you're going to go back to the past. It's clear as daylight. They have no experience to implement anything, even if they had a plan. And then with this guy, it's pure criminality. And what does he have to offer a young Guyanese, whether they're Amerindian, Indo-Guyanese, or Afro-Guyanese, about the future? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And lies. How today they Photoshop another thing of their crowd. They went to Linden and we found the poster, the same faces recurring, and they have a blue wave. They run a campaign only on Facebook. And people are gullible sometimes, some people are. So they say, oh, look at the momentum he's getting. You would think that we're getting the small crowd and he's getting the big crowds. The way he speaks about it.
So let's talk about...
So that is why I'm saying choices before the Guyanese electorate. So the young people, the people in Sophia, who are living in Sophia and listening to us now, what did APNU really do in Sophia? We built all the roads. We told you what we're going to do. We're putting in lights in all the playground. We told you we're going to get more jobs. In Linden, listen to Figueroa and listen to all the things being done. Not the bridge, not just the bridge, the highway, the new schools, etc., but jobs, etc. for people. If you're in the Essequibo Coast, you think the rice farmers going to be very worried again because they promised them, or the sugar workers, because they already said we shut down the sugar industry and grow marijuana on their platform, or the public servants, or any other group, or the miners. They got the taxes, they got promises or no taxes. Look at the people in Kwakwani and Aichuni. 1,000 jobs were lost in the bauxite industry on the APNU. So this is not about race. This is about your own future. And people have to look at the party that will put down something in writing and actually deliver on it, and has the experience to deliver it. We have an experienced team. President Ali was in my cabinet. He managed large-scale tasks. He ran 3 ministries. He's now president. He has an international standing. Mark Phillips ran the army. He has experience there. etc. They're supported by a whole team, ministers, etc. And we have a solid team. Which other political party has a team that could support the implementation of a program that you want to risk your future with?
I want to ask you a question about businesses. As of recent, we've seen posts of Chinese-run supermarkets popping up in some of our communities, in corners, all over. What's the next move when it comes to this type of stuff?
So this is a big concern, and it came up to me several times, and I addressed this at my press conference. So what we have are Guyanese businesses who have been renting their places to Chinese to open markets. We can do very little about that, because when you own your property, we can't tell you
Who to rent to.
Right, that's one. But there's a complaint that the Chinese do not respect our laws. They don't pay taxes, and they don't get permission, or they don't seek permission to sell the things they're selling in the supermarkets, because they sell everything there.
Okay.
So I made it clear that our position is, if you come to our country and our people are paying taxes and they have to get the requisite permission to sell, you have to comply with the law. And if you're inducing some GRA official or someone else, then that has to change. So we have had a crackdown to ensure that they have that they're paying taxes. Mm-hmm. Some of them are still duping the taxes, but that they're paying the taxes. So for example, if they sell beers in a supermarket, you have to get a license to sell alcohol too. Mm-hmm. You can't just, the Guyanese man would have to get a license to sell alcohol. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at that. So the same rules must apply to everyone. Then number three, I went to the diamond opening of the new hospital. Mm-hmm. So I came out and I saw this Chinese supermarket, and it irked me. I said, how come this is a prime spot? Why would we give it to Chinese to open a supermarket here? Guyanese could do this. So we went back, I came back, and I found out, the land, we gave it to Guyanese through a business proposal. They then own the land now, and they rented it. They got it to open a business there. Mm. And now once they get the title, there is very little we can do.
Right.
And so a lot of that is happening too. Like the quarry licenses. We were producing, when we got in office, we were producing maybe 500,000 tons of stone. Mm-hmm. So we have this big road program, roads everywhere, etc. So the price of stone went up significantly. So we decided, how are we going to fix this? We're importing stone at $17,000 per ton, right? And when it was $10,000, $11,000 before. So we gave out another maybe 10 quarry licenses, all to Guyanese. Mm-hmm. They turn around and rented them to the Chinese. So they're sitting home, many of them are collecting $2 or $3 for every ton sold. Mm-hmm. And then the Chinese are operating it for them. So we didn't give it to the Chinese. Mm-hmm. We gave it to them. So then the truckers came to see me, and I made sure that they couldn't use the Chinese trucks. I talked to the truckers. I said to Vikram Bharrat, we got to, Guyanese truckers must...
Yeah, because they were complaining.
Right, they were complaining. They came to see me at Freedom House, and I dealt with it. Mm-hmm. So these things are, a lot of our own people are doing this, doing a hustle. And if it's their land or their permit, we have to act lawfully too.
Right.
So it is a big concern of ours, but also. Then I went to Berbice one time, and we said, they complained to businessmen about the Chinese shops. And then the Guyanese in the community are saying, but they open late. If we need a screw, we could run over to the shop. If we need something there. So they're providing a service, because our people want to close at 6 o'clock. And they're working until 8 or 9, maybe, when people coming home from work. So we need to also adjust the way we do business. Our locals, we got to move with the times too. If people are working in the day and they're coming home at 6 now, you can't be closing your store at 6 o'clock too. You have to be keeping your store open a little bit later so they can have time to shop. In the evening, women coming home from work and all of that, they have to take care of the children. So they have time to go to the supermarkets and everything else. Or people want to like shut down early.
VP, every time you come to conversation.
Yes.
Do you know it's 6:23 right now?
Oh, I did not know. No, it's a great thing.
And you have a lot going on in the next few days. Too.
And I just want people to read. A lot of people don't read what we put out. Like look at the vouchers. You know how many homes we went to and people said, what? A spectacle voucher? And that's been running for 2 years. You can get $17,000 to get your spectacle, $2,000 to test, and a $15,000 for the glasses. The cervical cancer voucher. People don't know. I met a group and I said, have you seen the new hospital going up? Mm-hmm. And by the bypass, how many of you drove past? And they said, yeah, we drove past. And they said, oh, that's a hotel being built. It is the new women and children hospital, that pediatric and maternal hospital. Mm-hmm. It looks like a hotel, mm-hmm. and the bypass.
Yes, of course.
People don't follow sometimes what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's so impressive.
But it's very hard to keep up with everything that's going on, especially because there's so many, articles and information being thrown at you all the time. So how do we filter what's important and what's not? I mean, that's a difficult task
that's
itself.
it. And then people pay attention, like the TikTok,
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot on TikTok. And that's why I'm saying, no, I'm not on TikTok. What I do, I sometimes I scroll through, but it's very addictive, I must say.
It is.
It is addictive, and also, when you start scrolling, but then the night disappears, and then you've got nothing of substance.
Mm-hmm. Pick up a
and
book.
So I say to people, it's your future. If you want to know how to plan as a young businessman, you have to know take the budget every year. The budget is not a speech that Ashni Singh reads. You can present a budget without the speech. It is the estimates. The estimates would have every project that we are funding for the year in that. So you have to say, if I'm an IT specialist, I see 10 IT projects here. How am I going to get ready?
How do we tap in?
And I see now for co-investment, the government set aside $800 million. So do you know that the government will build a factory for you if you have a great project that is there now? People have not even utilized it. Mm-hmm. We have done this in many parts. Mm-hmm. Like we're building a cassava mill now on the Region 3 because the production of cassava went from 3 million pounds to 20 million pounds. And we want to do a cassava mill there to do the cassava flour. So people have choices. You have the wheat flour, cassava flour, you have a blend, local. People know they would never, and these are businessmen, they don't even go to the budget. So how do you know to plan for the future if you don't know what projects are going to be funded? If I look at the road budget, like next year, you're going to see a lot of work on concrete drains. And you hear the government talking about concrete drains. So I'm thinking now, and they already said we want standardized drains. So I'm thinking, how can I build 2 molds now? Should I get the specs now from Public Works to start building 2 molds, to start supplying the drains? You got to start getting involved in that sort of thing. If you live in an Amerindian community and you know now that the government is through the LCDS funds or through your region, we're only going to give contractors from your region. You have to do the same. How can I get the help for poverty? How can I get the cement, free cement and steel for the foundation for my home? You got to approach. People come to Freedom House and they get help a lot. You need to get up. If they're poor housewife and you need some help, because we do have poverty. They talk about poverty. I see Nigel Hughes post some pictures. And they say, oh, how could we be an oil country and be still poor? And I'm thinking, some people got to be really, I don't want to use bad words. So let me get to the point. So if 35,000 people lose their jobs, sugar workers, Amerindians, miners, etc. And they were taking care of their family. And they lose their jobs because of you. What do you think they're going to get, rich or poor?
True.
They are 35,000 people lost their jobs before COVID, and another 35,000 because of the shutdown. You don't think we have to do it? If you don't build houses, how are they going to have houses? Or you don't give them a plot of land? How do they own anything? If you don't give them scholarships, how are they going to come out of poverty, upgrade them so that they can earn more, like our nurses and our teachers? We train 6,000 more teachers. When they get a degree, they get more money because we want better quality. How? And you talk about, oh, I'm surprised there's still poverty because we start producing oil and gas. It takes, in the United States of America, you have millions of people who live on the street. And that's the wealthiest country in the world in per capita terms, one of the wealthiest. So you hear this nonsense, but which is the party that really is trying to tackle the things that will get you out of poverty? Trying to get the education and health and housing and water, cheaper and cheaper electricity, and giving people a cash grant. And there will be much more cash grants in the future. Which party is really walking the walk? It's only the PPP.
My final question, I'm sure you have one as well,
Yeah.
Michaela. My final question for you is this. Looking beyond the September elections, what legacy do you hope that your administration is going to leave behind in 5 years, especially in the terms of social justice, democratic governance, and economic fairness?
So let's go through. You're going to need to give me back again because
justice.
Social justice.
Yes.
So the thing is that clearly we're discussing some of that before.
Yes.
Women, children, protecting vulnerable groups. So I've already mentioned we can put in place the framework. We can be more supportive by putting more money in. We can hire more staff to ensure that this happens. But you also need civil society to play a role.
Absolutely.
So in terms of social justice, we want to make sure people living with disability, they get more help. That's a big promise. We've done it already. People on public assistance, they would see a massive increase. The pensioners would get more money. The children, I told you already how through their different grants. People who are poor would get additional help for construction of houses and that sort of thing. So that is in terms. We have a whole set of measures on social justice. Then democratic governance. So APNU keeps speaking about re-rigging elections. And I don't know if you can lie up to your supporters up to today. They're up to last night. I heard them saying PPP rigging election, rig the 2020 and trying to rig now. This year crowds, they look at their crowds. Yesterday, they had one man at Monterey Post speaking and somebody videoing him. They don't put crowds anymore. They just put the speaker and say, we had a massive meeting in the area. It's not true. And then say, we are planning to rig the elections, that we are putting Venezuelans to vote and all that. Not the usual nonsense, you know. You look at the crowd in London, see if you see Venezuelans there, or in Berbice, or at Kitty. You see the multi-ethnic nature of Guyana. That's one of the big things that is shocking them. So that's one, democratic governance. But we have to strengthen the judiciary. We have to get more accountability from the judiciary. I mentioned from the police, the procurement system, corruption. We have to fight all of these things. This is important. You're going to see some additional measures in our manifesto to look at this. Constitutional reform that we promised. The last time we put in place the mechanism to pursue that. 5 from the opposition, 5 persons from the government, and 10 from civil society. And that has started already work. So a lot of this. We have made it clear that we strengthen laws against discrimination on the basis of race, gender, religion, and sexual orientation. I said that clearly. I said we're not promising gay marriages. I said to Sassod clearly, we know the party will not support gay marriages. And they said we're not seeking that. We just want discrimination prevented, access to health care and education. I don't think people should be discriminated against
Absolutely.
because of to
Sexual
access to
preference.
health or jobs, etc., because of their sexual orientation. We promise that. Then on economic empowerment, this is important. Opportunities. So the development bank to create a means through which we will be able to create more small business. Reorienting the public sector budget like we did now. If we had allowed people to bid, only 5 or 10 people would have got all the contracts, not the 5,000-6,000 young men that you see in Linden, etc. That's economic empowerment. We changed the whole bidding system. We're now awarding contract on the basis of rates. So they now have to settle on the rate because if we had gone through the bidding system. That's a second thing. Making sure that we educate people so that they can be better empowered, that they empower through ownership. House lots, etc., that they own things. This is how we're. I can go down a long list of measures. Financial literacy. I told you about Floyd Haynes, who owns the Merchant Bank. Floyd is going to work with the PPP, but also at the government level, we do that. Financial literacy, financial empowerment. We have a whole course. We traverse this country to talk to people about how we set up small businesses and how do we manage finances. We already have the course outline. He sent it to me and promised to work with us at this. We will then take opportunities in the oil and gas sector, like the fertilizer plant, some of the opportunities from the other oil and gas sector, and then structure them in a way where we have these investment vehicles, either through bonds or share ownership, and allow small people, like if you're a teacher or a nurse and you have 100,000 in your bank account and you want to invest it, if you're getting 3% from the bank now, we want to guarantee you a return of 10%. The government underwritten. So you start investing and you earn more from your money that might be sitting in the bank. And the Guyanese who have more money, then they can also finance projects of a bigger nature through the bond structure. A lot of these things we've been talking about, that is how we empower people. The Amerindian communities, they need a lot of support because of the distances, etc. Young people in these areas, how do we get more jobs to them? And rural and people like in Linden, etc. because they're a little bit away from the network. But when we finish the upgrade of the road network from Molson Creek all the way to the airport, all the way to Parika and then to Charity, you'd have 4-lane roads, high level of connectivity, so people can be mobile for work and opportunities, etc. And that bridge alone will de-risk opportunities for Region 3. Because when you can land your containers across there and move it over to the river, just think about all the people living in Region 3 now, the opportunities that they'll get from the development of the river on their side, right along from Breed and Hoop all the way to Wales. Major changes you're going to see. And then hopefully we'll have a full 5 years, not the 3 years, because we had to deal with 2 years of COVID.
All right. Okay. Well, I was going to ask one final question. Do I have time for one final question?
One final question. VP.
All right. Yes, it is quite late. I did tell you that an hour on radio feels like 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about Essequibo is we own.
Yes.
Our sovereignty, how important it is to protect it, not just from a patriotic standpoint, but from an economic standpoint as well too. Of course, there's been a lot of information being peddled to us, but we want to know from the government's perspective, what is the plan moving forward in protecting our sovereignty?
So we've spoken heavily about the investments we plan to make in the Army and the security forces. The security forces would be a lot of technology to make what they're doing easier and more effective in ensuring that we fight crime in the country. And it's not just the serious types of crime, but the community-based ones. We've had a lot of complaints. People leave their work, leave to go to work, a lot of that sort of thing. So investments there. Then in our Army, we have to build the capability to better police our borders.
Definitely.
So heavy investment in drone technology to map real-time information what's going on at our border, and also in our exclusive economic zone, because we believe you have a large amount of wealth there in the terms of our fishery resources, that we have illegal fishing from as far as Korea, people coming to fish in our waters out there in the 200 miles limit, that's the exclusive economic zone. So better policing that. So clearly our capability to better police our patrimony, our economic resources, and keep our borders intact is vital for us. Essequibo will grow economically. Well, that's why we're thinking about a whole range of new crops and activities there. And so we promise an innovation hub and an incubator for small business across all regions, especially in the outlying regions, 10, 1, 7, 8, 9, Essequibo Coast, and region 6 and 5. Those are the regions that need that to generate new economic activities. So Essequibo is important for us, very, very important. We hope that the case at the ICJ, we'd have a ruling in our favor. We expect that because Venezuela doesn't have a shred of evidence to support their claims. And we expect that ruling, and that would advance or settle this issue definitively. Venezuela may accept it or not, but that's their business. But already the US has made it clear. Just recently, when Secretary Rubio was here, he said it would be a bad day for Venezuela were you to attack Guyana.
Or ExxonMobil, yeah.
Or ExxonMobil. And he also, just recently, we had a senator who put forward draft legislation to say that the defense secretary must report periodically to the Senate about their collaboration with Guyana to address transboundary crime and the Venezuelan threat.
I read that.
You read that. So that is why we say this Azruddin Mohammed is a risk not just to people in the country because he's putting up all the people at risk, but just imagine a sanctioned man. You are the US ambassador. They're having to deal with a sanctioned individual. Maduro is sanctioned. Do we lose the sovereignty? The support from the US. And that's crucial in our battle against Venezuela. We have strong diplomatic efforts globally. Carl Greenidge, who was from the last government, was foreign minister and then foreign secretary. He still is the agent for a case at the ICJ. We kept him on because this is a national issue. This is not an issue that you play politics over.
All
right. We want to thank you for spending your time with us.
No, that's it. That's good.
It's been a really, really educational conversation.
I think we covered quite a few number of topics.
And we hit some things that we thought might have stumped you, and you managed to.
No, I didn't think that.
Thank you for having this conversation.
No. Welcome. You're welcome. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today and to talk to people. I think we need, hopefully, this would stimulate more debate in our country. Because too often we don't have that debate around.
Room for debate
debate around policy, and it not necessarily a televised debate that's taking place in families, particularly when people are making decisions that would be crucial for their lives.
Absolutely.
They need to sit down and assess the facts and assess who is really going to deliver change to my life.
I think a lot of times we discuss what we think are facts. So I think we need to make a more concerted effort to go and actually look stuff up, read it, and make sure you have all the relevant information before you relate something. Maybe
sometimes it's actually laughable. This Kian Jabur, this guy is really, he makes up things all the time. And he speaks with such self-assurance that you would think it's a fact. So your point, I'm getting to your point, there are lots of people who speak off the top of their head, and they speak with such conviction that you would actually believe it's true. All I'm saying, you can fact check me on anything that I said today, and people should fact check. You fact check me on what I'm saying, because I have a credibility. I'm not going to trade my credibility by where I know a long time as finance minister and then as president to be caught lying. These guys don't mind because they move on from lie to lie every day. I just seen him speak up, and one time I met him at the Starbucks and he didn't know basic stuff. And then I said, he got to be a little, I had a different impression. I just used him at the top of my head, like that, yeah.
No problem.
Yes,
because
he's one of those.
Spending your time with us again. The door's always open.
Yeah.
So what are you doing after this?
No, I get back to Freedom House.
No, excuse me. Excuse me.
Yeah. Actually, I've had about 3 cups of coffee already here.
I just wanted to know his plan.
After the election, because we need to get back to work. We're carrying the message everywhere. We're carrying the president. I was supposed to go to Mabaruma tomorrow with the president, but Mark is going with him we have a big public meeting in Mabaruma. It will be huge, and I'm spending the next couple of days in Escobar Coast. As I said, beginning, I have 18 meetings there, but just whistle-stop meetings to talk to people, because sometimes they hear things, and we've had problems with a lot of leaders that were local leaders who sometimes are, rude to people and don't carry out the best interests of the party, or they may be neglecting the community, and people have concerns about that, and sometimes they want to see you. Yeah, they tend to blame the party for it, although you may never even know. And yeah.
Do you exercise?
I don't get to do that. I don't exercise.
You gotta stay healthy. You gotta exercise.
Yeah, I know. I wish every time I say I'm going to plan something and something else comes up, I go on the phone and another problem. It's been like that for 5 years now. It's almost like I don't know, the 5 years just disappeared like that. Like it's like a one big sprint. Meeting people. I met hundreds of people literally at Freedom House. Yeah, no, a sprint. It looks like a sprint because it's like, I'm thinking about yesterday that, when we went in there, the first day our fund was sworn in, and we had a conversation. What are we going to do? We had 40 tests being done per day. That's the maximum. And people were dying, and the country was shut down. And they didn't have income to come out back. The girls who were working like waitresses and other places were calling, we don't have money. And what do? And we met with the health people at the convention center, our friend and myself, the mass, and we sat with them and we said, the COVID hospital, we had to get the beds in. So we called around, got the beds in, we got the oxygen in, we got the vaccines coming in. We moved to 5,000 tests per day. And that was like everything. We're sharing out mass. And it took almost like a year. And then we said simultaneously. Actually, there were 3 members of the cabinet. I'm not going to tell tale. The whole cabinet was to keep the lockdown in place, except 3 members of the cabinet. Myself, the president, and one other member.
Open this place.
We said we got to open. The shutdown model is not going to work. And we reopened, and we had a lower death rate than the countries that were shut down. Trinidad and Tobago, including in parts of the US and stuff, because it's a sad thing. A lot of people lost their lives there was very little we could do. We had to overcome vaccine skepticism and all of that. But people don't remember that. And then we came out on the ground. And then I remember just after COVID, I went to Crabwood Creek. One night I went to the hotel, Classic Hotel in Corriverton, and some older folks from the party came and said to me, you want to come into Crabwood Creek? And I went to Crabwood Creek, and no road there. All the roads were in disrepair. Nothing was done. And it seems like the whole of Berbice, from New Amsterdam, from Mara, including New Amsterdam, all the way to Crabwood Creek, it was like they're taking away the sugar workers and closed the estates, so there was no life in Berbice, no roads, nothing. We managed to leaving there, we managed to build thousands of roads, not in Berbice alone, but throughout the whole country. Now it's hard to find a community road that we have to build. And we did it with the same contractors, with a lot of local people. Some did shoddy work and a lot did great work, small people. But we had to face all of the challenges. And so it's been a hectic ride there. How we didn't have any of the hospitals on the drawing board. We had to conceptualize, do studies, raise the financing, get the contracts awarded, and now the hospitals are being opened. Right? So a lot of those things, the highway plan wasn't there. We had it conceptually. We put it in place. The bridge, no plan. So 5 years was hard work. And we're looking forward to working now and coming back to the issues that we didn't get to touch. And no, right. Thank you. Right. And we start back again the interview again.
It's easy to start back.
I know it's easy to start back because
so
it's
much
been
to talk about.
It's just so much, and it's been a
Tell
rough
us something we don't know about you. Just one quick fact that the public.
I don't. If you don't know it about me, that means I don't want it known.
Wow. Well, do you have a favorite song?
Something you want to
Bob Marley is my favorite. It's a bit dated, but inspirational, and I think it's in my head from university days.
Which one? Which one was it?
Every song Bob Marley sang.
Waiting in Vain is my probably top 3.
Waiting in Vain,
yes.
Emancipation song, right?
Yeah.
Everything.
All right.
Fair enough.
Do you celebrate birthdays?
Hardly, no.
Oh wow.
But your birthday is January 23rd.
Oh,
Yeah. I'm not much for birthdays and stuff like that. Almost throughout my presidency, January was a hectic month with flooding. I spent a lot of that in water. Birthdays. I remember the early days before we built the Hope Canal. We used to be like Region 5 used to be flooded out all the time, and I spent a lot of birthdays on.
We're gonna have a big birthday the next year.
Yeah.
Next year, 2026.
You gotta invite us.
Right, all right. All right, then let's do
Listen.
that.
Be good.
Take care.
Okay, take care.
Thanks.
All right. That's the man himself.